Hello, welcome. Today we are going to be looking at longitudes and latitudes. And this is a topic under mensuration in mathematics. Now, when you have an object and you want to know the distance from one point of the object to the other, or you want to know the area of the object, or you want to know the volume that the object occupies, you study this under mensuration. So let's say you have an object, say a rectangle, and you want to know the distance between point A and point B, or you want to know the area occupied by this object. You want to know the total area occupied by this object. Or if this object is a solid object, if it is a solid object and you want to know the volume of this object, you can study either the area of this object, the volume, or the perimeter. You can do all these studies under mensuration. But now when you're looking at the Earth surface, you're not talking about any other object, you're not talking about a square, you're not talking about a rectangle, you're not talking about a cone. Now you're considering the Earth surface. This is the shape of the Earth. It's a sphere. The Earth is a spherical, the shape is spherical. So when you're talking about calculations on the Earth's surface, noting the distances between points on the Earth's surface, you use longitude and latitude. I hope you get the relationship, and that is why studying longitude and latitude is also classified under mensuration. In most mathematics textbook, you see it under mensuration 2, because it is also studying about points on the Earth, noting the distance and understanding how to do calculations on the surface of the Earth. And that is what we're going to be doing in this course, mensuration for longitudes and latitudes. Now, looking at the shape of the Earth is a spherical object. It is very important that we identify some important points on the Earth. So, now when you look at the Earth, that very cycle at the middle of the Earth, the horizontal cycle, is known as the equator, whereas the vertical cycle is known as the Greenwich meridian. So these very 2 points are very, very important, and they are known as great circles, because if you cut the Earth through this very cycle, you're going to find 2 equal parts. So any point, any circle round the Earth's surface, any circle round the Earth's surface through which when you cut the Earth you can get 2 equal parts, we call them the great circle. We call them the what? Great circle. And the 2 major important great circles are the equator and the Greenwich meridian, and they are going to be used as reference points in the calculations that we're going to be doing under longitudes and latitudes. So very importantly, take note of these 2 points: the equator, which is the circle through the middle, the horizontal circle through the middle of the Earth's surface, and also the Greenwich meridian, which is the circle through the middle of the Earth's surface also, but this time around vertical circle. So take note of these 2, the equator and the Greenwich meridian. Though these are not the only 2 great circles, most of the, or all the meridians, apart from the Greenwich meridian, all of them are all great circles. So what is the objective of this very course that we're going to be doing? What are we expected to know after this course, longitude and latitude under mensuration 2? Number one, after this course, you should be able to distinguish between a great circle and a small circle, which is what I've just explained. A great circle is that circle that when you cut through, you have equal halves of the sphere of the earth. Like when you cut the earth through this equator, you're going to have two equal parts. Or when you cut it through the Greenwich meridian. There are plenty other great circles as longitudes, but the Greenwich meridian and the equator are the two major great circles. Now, number two, you're going to be able to identify the longitudes and the latitudes. Now, what are the longitudes and latitudes? Now, the longitudes are those circles. If you want to run circles across the Earth's surface, you can run as many as you want. You can have this. You can have this. So all these circles that are vertical, all the vertical circles like this, they are all called longitudes. They are called longitudes. Whereas this other circle that you have, like the equator and any other circle you have like this, cutting the Earth into two places, they are known as latitudes. So the horizontal circles are the latitudes, whereas the vertical circles are the longitudes. So take note. And like I said, the most important latitude is the equator, whereas the most important longitude is the Greenwich meridian. So that's why we noted it here. The most important longitude is Greenwich meridian. The most important latitude is the equator. So take note of this. You see, I just outlined the objectives and already we are solving them. So at least we get them to where we start doing calculations, which we'll do in the next class. Now let's look at the third objective. Determine and sketch the position of a point. Now, if you have a point on the Earth's surface, if you want to calculate distances on the Earth's surface, like distance from one point on Earth to the other, distance from Nigeria to Canada, knowledge of longitude and latitude can actually help you. So let's say you pick a point here, and this point is in Nigeria, maybe in Abuja or anywhere. You can, if you locate this point, you can find the longitude and you can also find the latitude of this point. So when you give us the longitude and latitude, you're giving us the position of this point. So anybody that you tell that this is the position of this very point, he can easily locate it. Now we should also be able to calculate the distance between 2 points on a great circle. And I told us that great circles are those circles that if you cut the Earth through them, you get a perfect equal sides. So let's say you cut the Earth through this circle, you are going to have equal sides. Once you cut the Earth through the equator, you get two equal parts because the equator is a great circle. If you also cut the Earth through the Greenwich meridian, you also get two equal parts if you cut the Earth through this. So now, if you want to calculate the distance between 2 points on a great circle, this is a great circle, the equator. So let's say you want to calculate the distance between point B and point A. So you should be able to find a way of calculating this distance between point B and point A and point B. So it's part of the things we are going to be learning under longitude and latitude. We should also be able to calculate the distance between 2 points on the parallel of a latitude. So if you also have another latitude here, which is a small circle because it's not dividing the Earth into two equal parts, you can also calculate the distance between C and D. So we can always do this calculation. Now we can also calculate the speed of a point on the Earth's surface due to rotation. So if you want to calculate the speed of a point on the Earth's surface due to rotation, we should also be able to do this calculation under longitude and latitude. So those are the objectives of this very lecture. Should be able to distinguish between great circles and small circles. And this objective, we've been able to solve them up to this point. So in subsequent classes, we'll be doing the remaining calculations. So let me go through them again. Number one, distinguish between great circles and small circles. And I said that a great circle is any circle through which when you cut the edge, you can have equal part. Let's say you cut the edge through the equator, you'll be having something like this. If you cut through the equator, you have two equal parts. But let's say you come to this other latitude and you cut the edge through here. What are you going to be having? You'll be having something like this. So you can see that this one is bigger, whereas this is smaller. So when you cut the edge through this very latitude, you're not going to have two equal parts. So this very circle or this very latitude is known as a small circle, because you cannot get two equal parts of the edge when you cut through them. But the one that through which when you cut you can get two equal parts, like the equator, is a great circle. So that's why great circles, the latitude that is a great circle is the equator, whereas most of the longitudes are great circles. Because if you cut the edge through this point, you're going to get two equal halves. So the Greenwich meridian is a great circle. If you also cut the edge through this other point, you also get two equal parts. If you cut through this point, two equal parts, through this point, two equal parts. So you have plenty great circles as the meridians. Note, another word for the longitudes are meridians. So you have plenty of great circles as longitudes. But the latitude, the great circle there is the equator, because it is through the equator that you can have two equal parts. So whenever you hear the word meridian, you're also talking about longitudes. Now, identify the longitudes and the latitudes. I told us that the vertical circles across the Earth's surface are known as the longitudes, whereas the horizontal ones are the latitudes. And the most important horizontal or the most important latitude is the equator, because it is a reference point for measuring other distances. Whereas the most important longitude is the Greenwich meridian, because it is also the reference point for measuring other points and meridians on the Earth's surface. So that is where we're going to be stopping. And I believe that you've known what great circles and small circles are. And you can as well tell me what longitudes and latitudes are. So in subsequent classes, we'll be able to determine and sketch a point on the Earth's surface, calculate the distances between 2 points. Please, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button by this side of the screen. If you have any questions and concerns, drop them in the comment section below. If you want to contact us, you can always use the reference points on the description section of this video. Thank you, and God bless you.